Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're going to be talking about two extremes here for Bitcoin and for Dogecoin. I'm going to prove my point here with RSI. Now, typically, we're going to be bouncing back and forth between um, two extremes here as far as for overbought and oversold, and we're going to see how this kind of correlates as far as in the price. Now, with Bitcoin, we both know that Bitcoin can hit kind of like an extreme of an extreme and go well above the overbought territory. This run that we had here, in the grand scheme of price, this was from around 16,000 up until about 23,000. And you'll see just how much we overshot RSI down here. And we actually made it all the way up to about 88. 88 really on the scale of the technically the 30 to 70 range. But as we know, we pretty much consolidated back down to the lower extreme, and then we had the run back up to the higher extreme, which is relatively close where we are now. We're close to the 70. We are at 61.43 now. So we are pretty much relatively close. We came off of the extreme of 70. So now we're roughly around 61.1. So technically, what we're looking at here is we're still relatively close to the top. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there before we start seeing that downward pressure. So this kind of correlates to what we're seeing up here actually in the chart, saying that whether or not we're going to get the next run or how deeply we're going to push into that pool of liquidity up there, or whether we're going to extend sideways here and establish some support here and potentially launch to the next leg up from this point. And I want to correlate this to Doge before I go any further. So when we're looking at the correlation here, you'll see that Doge is in a much different position. Now, we have had our extreme here where we actually shot up to around 92. This was the purchase of Twitter here for the RSI. And then we came down to the extreme here. We had kind of like a bottoming, and this off this pool of liquidity here at like the 712 level. And then we went up and we established our highest point after that, pretty much was around like the 11.31, which we didn't make the extreme, but we did come back down and test that oversold category. And then we went up, we had a double bottom here on the RSI, and then we went up and immediately had a double top. And then we went back to the extreme and went deeper into oversold. And now we're we're a little bit over like that midway point for Doge, but certainly still room here to go up and retest. So on the extreme side, this is showing that we do have the potential here on this particular run to retest this 9.19 mark. And before we start getting like a lot of that downward pressure here, Bitcoin, on the other hand, is showing something different. It's saying that it's already at the extreme. So what does that mean? Typically what that means, if we're using the status quo saying that Bitcoin is going to lead the market, that's where the pools of liquidity and stuff are going to be. This means that we can see a downward push from here, and we can possibly see something like what we've had, similar to, I guess, a lot similar to this area here between December and January, where we had that double tap here at the bottom. We can potentially see a sell-off here if Bitcoin doesn't gain liquidity. We'll tap into a liquidity pool relatively soon. We're going to see it kind of ascend downward to grab some additional liquidity. So we could see another breakdown here to retest this area here. Not saying that we're going to go all the way, but it's certainly possible before we can grab some liquidity here as well. Because if that's going to drag it around, because Dogecoin in and of itself still has room to go up before we start seeing those extremes, at least according to RSI. So if we got like an individual catalyst or something like that, it wouldn't be abnormal to see Doge run up another couple pennies from where we are now. We do have that room here according to RSI. Bitcoin more than likely is going to face some tough resistance, which it has with that $30,000 level. And for good reason here, you see that we've been bumping our head along that, I think 29.6, 29.5 or something like that, roughly. We had a few shots, all rejections, and you'll see us kind of literally bumping our head here on that overbought section here. So you see us kind of trending downward. We're still going sideways, but literally staying away from that 30 mark. And ultimately, this is the search for liquidity, and that's kind of how it plays out. So that's something that we're going to have to monitor going forward. But we know that these two trade in between two extremes here. So what we're going to have to watch here as far as for the tone of the overall market, obviously we have the FOMC and all that kind of stuff coming out later this month, and we could see a reallocation of funds throughout the market. But overall, what's what we're going to have to be looking for here is to see where this pool of liquidity is going to be for Bitcoin. That is going to be the name of the game here over the next month. And it looks like it's not going to be able to grab that from the 30K level. So we don't be surprised here if we dip down to go and grab some liquidity, probably from like the mid 20 range, around that 25,000 range. Not the end of the world. Again, if you're looking at the streams here, Bitcoin, for the most part, is tapped here on this run, so it wouldn't be abnormal. And it went vertical here, so you can't. I know it's fun to have coins and assets go vertical 100% of the time, but you know it's just like running a sprint. It's perfectly fine for them to take a rest here and grab some liquidity before the next leg up. And same thing with the Doge. We have that room, but we're going to see what the influence of Bitcoin, whether or not it's grabbing its liquidity, because we do see this curve downward here. But ultimately, we do have some room here to go up and retest. Again, I think that'll put us at a little bit over 9. Let me know your thoughts on the two extremes here between Bitcoin and Dogecoin. We'll be charting this week to see if we come up with anything that's going to be indicative that we can say, okay, well, this is potentially going to cause another breakout. But overall, these are the extremes here according to RSI. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.